Hey, what's up? This is MLG, and I'm back with some follow-up video on RuneSlinger's response to my culture, my rupture in culture video, and also this morning actually at 3:30 a.m. we had a live hangout where we actually discussed extensively of our responses, and my I had some. I wanted to do a follow up on this because we had some good conversation and good insights, and I was pleased by many of the things we. I need to find a way to stop moving so much when I shoot, holding my hand like that. Anyway, and also I'm really sorry about this, but I watched one of my latest video and seems like my focus on this camera is zooming in, zooming out, zooming in, zooming out, creating this weird wavy effect. Sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes. So sorry about that. Now, um, in this conversation, Runeslinger made some great points. We found that there is a culture clash in the hobby, and well, first before I get into that, I want to talk about. I'm sorry, I'm a little tired. I want to talk about the the language we use. I mean, Anthony made a good point in his VR about the fact like that GM Fiat and traditional game versus indie game, and all that is loaded language that is not very useful. And also the indie games or the story games are mostly an umbrella term for games that has been developed independently, by independent authors. But if I take Mifa Rug, for example, is an indie game, but it's an OSR kind of thing, kind of game. Simulation is kind of old school Renaissance game, in my book at least. So it is not a useful term. So we decided to, at least I decided to use. I want to use traditional game and I want to use modern game. And what I mean by modern game is all the games that has some story STG element into it, creating some kind of hybrid. So you have your story game, you have your RPG, and you also have your hybrid, and so it is vocabulary. We with games like 7C or even like Fantasy Flight, Star Wars, and all that. We need a way to talk about these games because it's not. I don't think it's useful to put them in the same category as games like Shadowrun or old school. Like the new Call of Cthulhu 7th edition is a modern game, but if you go with the other edition, is more of a traditional game, right? So games with procedures and story STG element into them and all that. I will call them modern games now and instead of story games or whatever. Anyway, he's right. I need to be more careful with the language I use. Now, uh, in terms of the conversation we had, he made me realize something really interesting I want to share with you guys. Is that in my pursuit of fun in this hobby, uh, I was driven toward um, games that provide me with a good quality fun all the time. Like I was kind of driven toward uh, efficiency in design. So this is the thing that I realized from our conversation last night. Well, this morning, and it's basically the idea that what I wanted is um, reliable fun. So when I play, for example, when I play Burning Wheel, which is my favorite game, which is the game that allowed me to do that. The game is so tightly organized, tightly designed, and it runs itself that every time you play, you get that burning wheel experience with whoever you play, whenever you play. There's a way to do it, and it works. And so I was looking for these kind of game, and it is my main way of gaming. It is the way I prefer, and I realized that a game, in order to do that, needed some mechanically embedded narrative structure in them. So we discussed that, and he's like, I don't like these kind of game because it doesn't allow me to look back on the story from a character perspective, because you need to write, kind of script down a little bit in advance what the different arcs are going to be about, right? And discuss together as a group about the story and all that. So it was a story focus versus a character focus friction going on there. And what we came to realize as well, what I came to realize is that there is layers of fun in this hobby, accessible for everyone. Basically, it's that by wanted efficiency in my fun, by wanting like a reliable fun every time I play, I kind of look down on a way of gaming that is less efficient. If you listen to the conversation with Runeslinger, he agrees on that. At least when you play a traditional game that has no narrative structure and mechanically embedded in them, you will get a random experience. Sometimes it will be fun, sometimes it won't. Sometimes it's gonna take fucking sessions before the group gets on a good path and a good narrative flow. So it's hours and upon hours of maybe frustration or boring sessions or not so good session until you reach some kind of a consensus or some kind of a fluidity. So the reason is because you don't talk in advance about what you want to do, and most of these games don't have a procedural approach to resolution, just some simple task resolution most of the time. So it is what it is. Now what I realize is, what he made me realize is that there is another layer of fun which is not mechanical, which is not narrative, which is human. And this is an important point here, is that you get with people you don't necessarily know. The only thing you guys have in common is the love for this hobby and the love for the game you want to play. So you guys have an interest in that game, in that setting, in that genre. Of course, you're going to have like a session 0 where you're going to put some game expectation on the table a little bit and all that, but then, I mean, all you have is a character and a character sheet and some stat. These games, that's what they do. And nobody talks about the story in advance. It's just the GM puts you in situations and you react. And the story is when you look back upon this, and so it doesn't mean you don't have goals and all that. You create goals for yourself, but they're not rewarded by the game, and they are for yourself in your head. They're not on the sheet. They're not used mechanically whatsoever, because there's no rule for that. And so your wit, your skills as a player become the reward, when you survive and all that. And there's a fun. There is a layer of fun to be had there. It is, the getting together with people that has this, the same love and the same passion for this hobby, and getting to know each other, know how to play together. It might take 6 sessions, 5 sessions, 10 sessions, but once you reach that point and you have fun, you don't think about it anymore. You just go there and you just play, right? And so he shared his passion with me about that aspect of the hobby yesterday, and I was kind of enlightened somehow, because I remember it's been a while since I've played this kind of game. It's been a while. So right now I play games that force me to behave a certain way and allowing me to get the fun I want, because the people I play with has to play that way as well. But I realized I never really had the opportunity to fulfill that fun with these other kind of games, because in the past, as a I did the only campaign I finished with a game like that is my Traveler campaign, but I was GMing, and we created such a tight social contract that it was not even that kind of experience that he's talking about. So I never really achieved it, at least not as a player. Um, I played a little bit in short campaign, but I never finished it. So it made me want to go back. It made because I love those traditional games as well. I mean, these some of these settings are great. Some of these engines as well. And the only thing that was driving me away was I don't want to waste my time 5 6 sessions before we start having fun. Maybe I don't want to take the chance to sit at a session for 3 4 hours and being bored to death because nobody is doing the same thing in the same kind of way, and so we don't have a defined purpose, and we need the GM so much and all that. And so I realized maybe I'm missing on something. I'm missing on that human layer of fun, right? So this is what I wanted to discuss with you guys is that I start to realize and something new in this hobby is that there is different kind of layers of fun. You have your mechanical fun, you have your aesthetic fun. Mechanical is the engine you're manipulating and engaging the mechanic and all that. The aesthetic layer would be something like the genre, the tone, the theme, the narration, the story, and then you would have the human layer, the people you play with, the camaraderie, the friendship that you build by getting to know the other person you play with, by engaging them in on their with around their taste and how they play and adjusting your style to someone else's style. I think there is a legitimate fun to have there. So yeah, this is what I realized yesterday. So thank you very much, Runeslinger, for this great conversation we had. Thank you for your response, even if you've been really busy with RPG a day. So yeah, and I'm gonna start reading some traditional game again soon. So yeah, thank you very much again. And what do you guys think about what I'm saying? What do you guys think about the layers of fun? Do you engage them? Have you noticed them before, like the way I describe them? Do you agree with these categories? Do you uh, do you agree with what I'm saying or not? Or do you feel the same way? All right, talk to you soon.